Okay, I call the January 14th, 2025 Board of Ed meeting to order. Let's see. Greg, you want to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first order of business, approval of minutes. We have several to do. So 2.1, the approval of minutes for December 10th. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion to accept the minutes from December 10th meeting.
I have a second.
I'll second.
Any additions, corrections? Look it over.
I'll do it.
Are we all satisfied as to as presented?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. Approval of minutes for December 20th special meeting.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of the special meeting of December 20th, 2024.
I second it.
Okay. Any additions, corrections? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That also passes. Approval of minutes, special meeting December 23rd, 2024. Have a motion, please.
Make a motion to accept the meetings of the December 23 Board of Education meeting. Special meeting.
Second that motion.
Okay. Additions, corrections? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it is unanimous. And finally, the approval of the minutes, Board of Education meeting, December 30, 2024. Could I have a motion, please?
A motion to approve the minutes from the Board of Ed special meeting of December 30th, 2024.
Okay, could I have a second?
Second.
Any additions, corrections? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous. Okay, and please note for the record that at 5:37, Ella joined us. Okay. Next at order of business, we go to the recognition awards.
Thank you.
So we're gonna do this a little differently moving forward. We're gonna do the recognition awards, and then we're gonna have our middle school students speak, and then we'll do the 5-minute, when is the 5-minute after, 5-minute recess right after they speak, then we'll go take pictures, with everybody there. So we're gonna begin with, the key is me, is Stephanie Oriana. Come on up. By Jamie Canto and Maddie Delicio. She's a Huntington School kindergarten teacher. She's an outstanding teacher and colleague to work with. She works hard to implement consistent routines and expectations, as well as develop caring relationships with her students. You will often see her working late in the building to ensure all of her students' needs are met for the next school day. Her attitude and work ethic are unmatched, and she is always willing to try new strategies in her classroom. She recognizes both strengths and challenges in her students and differentiates instruction accordingly. She is loved by students and staff and is a key player at Huntington Elementary. So congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Congratulations.
Thank you for all you do.
Tara Corey, come on up. So the I Make a Difference Award goes to Tara Corey, and she was nominated by Beth Hamlin and Ashley Favello. Tara is a board-certified behavior analyst who works at both Waquanic School and Moriarty. She brings exceptional expertise and dedication to her work. She exemplifies the profound impact a BCBA can have on a school community. The scope of her work is anything but simple. A BCBA's role is to observe and influence behavior to create positive outcomes while collaborating with every individual who interacts with students, modeling appropriate responses, analyzing data, and developing intervention plans. What sets Tara apart is her incredible skill set, which allows her to work effectively with every student. She approaches challenging conversations with families, often regarding difficult or sensitive topics, with a unique blend of honesty, empathy, and tact. Tara is truly irreplaceable, and her contributions profoundly impact the students and families that she serves. I would also like to say that there was a lot more, we had to cut this down. So she can share everything else with you. Congratulations, Tara. Okay. You Inspire Me Award, Richard Otto.
Here we go.
I'm gonna read this first, okay? You wanna hold it while I read it? Okay. You Inspire Me, Richard Otto, Kelly Middle School, grade 7. Truly a leader, Richard has come so far since he entered middle school. He worked so hard in 6th grade and has shown exceptional growth in his engagement and work production. Upon entering 7th grade, Richard immediately assumed responsibility as a leader and took our new 6th graders under his wing. He continues to work his hardest and model expected behavior, inspiring everyone in our class to be better. Recently, Richard was present during a situation that required adult support, and Richard knew exactly what to do. He ran back to his classroom and communicated to adults that help was needed, resulting in extra support to resolve the situation. This is one example of how much Richard has grown and how responsible he has become. Richard's incredible sense of humor keeps everyone laughing, and he is truly a joy to be around. We are so proud of Richard.
Thanks, everybody.
Nice job. Here you go.
Have a great day, everybody.
And now we have the reports from the middle schoolers. First up from Kelly Middle School. Just give your name to the microphone.
Is it on? Good evening, everyone. My name is Rivers Champlin. I'm the student council representative of Kelly Middle School.
And which grade are you in?
I'm in 8th grade.
Okay, thank you.
Kelly's Ed Rising Club, which is made up of 8th grade students who want to possibly become educators in the future, went on a field trip to Huntington School just before winter break to Buddy Reed to preschool and kindergarten students. Special thanks to Mr. Marr and the Huntington staff for welcoming us into their classrooms. The boys and girl basketball teams are off to a great season. They are working hard to improve their performance each game. Unified basketball has also begun. Kelly students raised $365 on December 20th for the Connecticut Children's Medical Center PJ Day fundraiser. Our student council is beginning to plan a dance on February.
I'm Jazrael Walker, and I'm the student council representative of Teachers Memorial Global Studies Middle School. Our winter sports are running off with unified basketball, making a splash with our students, and our boys and girls basketball team sweeping across town rivals Kelly last week. We host our global bingo night last Thursday, which was a big hit with families, in a special presentation in the planetarium. We celebrated 103 of our students with 95% attendance rate in December. The attendance team is planning a surprise Panther Pride Day this Friday with a special appearance of our Panther to celebrate our student body. January is A plus attendance month, with every student that is in school with 90% attendance rate for this month will earn an attendance party February, which will feature a class penny war and a school-wide rock, scissors, or paper game.
Okay, now we're gonna take just a few minutes, we'll be out in the hall taking pictures with the award winners, and if the middle school students want to join us, they can too. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Here we go.
comment. I've got a little blurb I want to read first though. The Norwich Board of Education values the public comment period as it represents an opportunity for members of the public to express their views to the board on matters within the board's authority. Procedurally, public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person and up to 30 minutes per topic. Comments may be consolidated and given by a group spokesperson. All comments must be directed to the board, not to any individual board member or individual member of the administration. The board and the administration will not respond to questions or engage in dialogue during the public comment period. The board and the administration will determine when and how to address questions that arise during the public comment period. Comments may be submitted via email or in writing at any time. Profanity, raised voices, boisterous conduct, and personal animosity will not be tolerated and may result in the suspension of that individual's speaking privilege. The chair reserves the right to limit public comment at any time so that the board's business may be conducted in a timely manner. Each speaker is asked to give their name and address for the record before starting their remarks. Is there anyone who would like to speak for public comment? Okay, if you could come forward, give your name and address. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Joanne Philbrook, and I reside at 10 Elm Avenue. I'd like to start by saying that I'm here in 100% support of the current acting superintendent and her staff. I raised an issue about the website and the inability to navigate. It's 100% better. Thank you. I now can go and read the agenda and keep an eye on what goes on here. Which brings me to a second point. I am very disappointed to see that neither of the liaisons from the city council are in attendance. I think that just shows you more that how apathetic things are in this city. And then my third point will not be so complimentary. I believe that you, the Board of Education, owe the taxpayers of this city an apology and an explanation. After a lengthy and very expensive debacle, you didn't complete the mission. You dumped it in the hands of the acting superintendent. I hold each of you accountable. There is a movement in the city that is going to come up that people have had enough. They have had enough of the lack of accountability and the lack of consequences. It is time to shift. Which brings me to my next point. I was under the impression that DEI and woke were gone. They will be come January 20th, by hook or by crook. But in reading the agenda, I noticed that one of your items is welcoming immigration and refugee community and protection of undocumented students. And thankfully, I was able to read it. And it says that the board believes that ICE activities in and around would constitute a severe disruption to the learning environment and educational opportunities of the students. Does that mean that you will not be following the directives of ICE? That you are not going to protect the rest of us from the nefarious things that are happening in this city? I take it as a personal affront. My life is as valuable as anybody else's. I am a white English-speaking person. That is not racist, that is a reality. But I myself do not feel safe in this community anymore. I am tired of the freebies, I am tired of the giveaways, I am tired of the enabling. You have to look at the entire population, not just certain segments. And one of those segments of the population is the elderly. I can no longer afford to live in this crap hole. My taxes are through the ceiling. I'm dealing with some pretty significant health issues. I'm not going to be around much longer.
I'm sorry,
I-
do you have any particular thing within our jurisdiction?
Yes, within your jurisdiction, you can be transparent, and you're not being transparent. And I know you don't like to hear it, but we don't like to hear it either. So, as I said, I give my full support to Acting Superintendent and Lessard and her team because they are open and transparent. Have a nice night.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment? Is there anyone else who wishes to come and address the board for public comment? If not, I declare public comment closed.
Excuse me,
Yes,
I'd just like to make one comment.
sure.
Speaking for the board, our policies are made up by the policy committee, and we haven't voted on that policy as of yet. Just making you aware.
Okay. And that brings us to the report of the chair. Okay. Happy New Year, welcome back. I hope everyone's had a good holiday season. If you have noticed, the sun is isn't setting as early as a few weeks ago, so let's enjoy the increased daylight. Last night was the first full moon of the year, the wolf moon. And while it's been cold so far, we've avoided large snowfalls. Just after December, the board came to an agreement with the former superintendent to end the investigation in exchange for her resignation. I have the following statement to read, which has been published in and reported in the media. In September 2023, the Norwich Board of Education placed Dr. Kristen Stringfellow on paid administrative leave pending an investigation into personnel complaints. Due to the complexity of the matters involved, the investigation remains incomplete at this time without any findings or conclusions. In the interest of bringing these matters to closure and avoiding further expenditure in funds, time, and other resources, the board and Dr. Stringfellow jointly have agreed to a resolution of matters concerning Dr. Stringfellow's employment. Both the board and Dr. Stringfellow believe that it is in their mutual best interest to part ways so that Dr. Stringfellow can move on professionally and serve elsewhere, and so that the board can engage new leadership. Accordingly, Dr. Stringfellow shall be resigning effective January 1st, 2025, which she did. Dr. Stringfellow has agreed to forego the third year compensation of her contract and has agreed to be compensated in salary and benefits owed to her contractually for the remainder of the current school year. In turn, the board is willing to release Dr. Stringfellow from her contractual commitment to provide 3 months' notice before retiring or resigning. The board thanks Dr. Stringfellow for her contributions to Norwich Public Schools. These contributions have included restoring sports and clubs for students, reinstating the school resource officer program, leading the district through the COVID-19 pandemic, and modernizing and improving administrative departments. Dr. Stringfellow enjoyed serving the families and students of Norwich. She wishes the board well in establishing a future leadership team. And that is the extent of the board's comments regarding that. Also during the holidays, we lost our oldest living president, Jimmy Carter, who died at the age of 100. By his own admission, had a much better post-presidency than he did as president. He was a complicated man who grew up in poverty in rural Georgia, served as a naval officer, and rose to become governor of Georgia and president of the United States. He brokered a peace deal between Israel and Egypt and won the Nobel Peace Prize. His greatest accomplishment may be the near total eradication of a terrible parasitic disease, guinea worm, which infected some 3.5 million people annually in Central Africa, and last year was reduced to a total of just 7 human cases. Jimmy was a true believer who lived and proved his faith every day in service to others. This Monday, January 20th, we will celebrate both the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday and the inauguration of Donald Trump as the 47th president. He's only the second man to serve non-consecutive terms as president. May he serve the country well. Let us also pray for those who've been affected by the worst fires in California's modern history, with over 12,000 structures burned and at least 24 dead. If you can, please donate to the Red Cross or the World Central Kitchen, which is trying to give immediate aid to those affected. As of today, near hurricane-force winds are again fanning the flames and more destruction is ahead. Let's be thankful for the courageous firefighters and first responders who are trying to keep loss of life to a minimum in the face of apocalyptic conditions. At least all of these events have made us forget about the reports of strange drone sightings over New Jersey. I'm not sure that we've ever gotten a satisfactory answer to that puzzle. Please note that there are also winter band and choral performances scheduled in our schools over the next few days. Please consult the district calendar on the NPS website for details about your school. Finally, I'd like to thank the efforts of our parent volunteers in our schools and the initiative to reinvigorate each school's parent-teacher organizations. During tough budget years, these selfless volunteers are a valuable and much appreciated community resource. Just like you, the Board of Education members in this state are unpaid and donate their time to uplift all of our kids. And that completes my report. And the report from Acting Superintendent Susan Lassaro.
Okay, a lot to go over. Transportation update, I want to give everybody a transportation update. As everyone knows, we did have 2 buses, and we're calling it the Snow Walkers. That's what our transportation team's calling it for January, February, and March for NFA students. So they were established January to March 2025. They were previously designated as walkers, but living between 1 and 1.5 miles from NFA. So we began using buses on January 2nd. So far, there's been no concerns or emails regarding the new routes. Maria, our transportation director, did give me some data. Snow bus number 1, there were 71 students routed for that one. And for the data just from 1/7 to 1:10 a.m. and p.m., it's on the board doc, but I'll let you know, 1/7, there were 4 students at a 71. 1:08 a.m., 6. The p.m. bus had 3. January 9th, 18 a.m., p.m. 3, a.m. 7 for the 10th, and 4 for p.m. Snow bus 2, looks like there's some more. There's 56 routed on that one. 1/7 for the p.m. run, there were 13 students. The 1:08 a.m., 18, p.m. 29, 1:09 a.m., 25, p.m. 19, and then 10, 17, and 5 for p.m. So just to give you an update on that. Does anybody have any questions about the transportation to NFA?
You said it's in the board doc?
Yeah, it's under transportation.
It's in ours.
It's under.
Okay,
Bob's.
sorry. Okay, transportation.
Question on, Scott. Bus 1, bus 2. Districts in town, parts of town, bus one, bus two, where the stop, they have the hub stop?
Those are the hub stops, correct.
Okay.
So some of these students will still have to walk between one, yeah.
But I'm just concerned, I'm looking at the numbers and I'm wondering, one of them was extremely low, the other was low. So, in different parts of town, is one of them Greenville, is one of them, where are they?
I don't know, I can find out, but we are continuing to keep data. This is just a short, this is 1.7 to 1.10, so we are going to reach out to NFA to see if there's any issues that they know of that for the reason that they're not taking bus one, but I'll look into where they are.
That's cool, thank you.
And also the fact that we really haven't had any snowstorm to gauge,
No, he said it.
It's been cold.
Yeah.
It's cold.
It has been freezing.
It has been very cold.
And windy.
Windy.
And windy, yeah.
Here,
Yeah, even though it's been, I think today it was 30, they said the feel like temperature was mid-teens, so bundle up.
it was 34.
But the wind was, we can't be indoor 2 times. The other days we slept. We got smooth hands.
All right, so I'll look into where those buses are going and find out if there's any barriers.
Thank you.
The second item, I want to give everyone a middle school update. I did at the last board meeting give you the heads up that we are going to be changing the middle schools. They're no longer going to be considered magnet schools. I put a letter that's going to go out to parents tomorrow so that you can look at that. It's printed and Amber handed them out. So the middle schools will no longer be considered magnet schools, and they won't need to apply for the Norwich Middle Schools online as they have in the past. So the start of the 25-26 school year, all incoming 6th grade students will be required to attend one of the 2 zone middle schools, either Teachers or Kelly, based on the student's residential address. And there'll be a link there with the addresses to say based on their road, if they would go to Kelly or to Teachers. We also understand that there are families that already have siblings at schools, and we're going to allow them to stay with their siblings, and they just have to complete a Google form that's also going to be attached to this letter that will be going out via Parent Square.
Question, Susan. I know Kelly is called STEAM and Teachers is called Global, and they had varied curriculum. Are you still maintaining the curriculum?
There's no magnet themes in the curriculum, so they will both be offered the same curriculum in each school.
Okay.
So what was that again? So they're each gonna have access to the curriculum that they have at the
Each
other
school will have the
school.
same curriculum, correct. Does anybody else have any questions? Again, this is going to go out to families tomorrow.
It'll be on Parents Square.
On Parents Square.
And then we can see if somebody else's.
But essentially that's our new policy, but the magnet school designation, when did that end?
We really could have done this last year, so that grant is gone.
Okay.
Off of that, I want to let you know that we did hire a redistricting consultant that's been hired by the building committee. The person that's going to be doing that is the same person that did the demography report for the 5-year for the state to get the reimbursed for our new buildings. So we'll be working with him and we'll be giving you updates because we're going to be going from 7 schools to 4 schools. So we'll have to do some redistricting for that. So I just signed the contract yesterday for that. The next thing I want to talk about is preschool. I put that in front of you. I'm not going to read the whole thing. The good news is that we have 89% of our school readiness slots are filled as of January 9th. This is also good news because we will receive full funding for preschool because schools must meet the enrollment standard of 85% slots to fill to receive the full reimbursement. The preschool flex framework has opened, and this uses specific techniques to help children acquire skills in preschool that will be necessary to increase independent functioning in kindergarten and beyond. I want to reiterate this, that we've talked about this the last 3 board meetings. I want to reiterate this because the state requires ample notice to the board, which is why this is repeated, We have a desire to move our Family Resource Center from Mahan to Moriarty to provide services to our 12-month program, which serves students from across the district. And again, this will eventually be required board approval. So you'll hear about more of this plan as we go through the year. Also, a big part right now is that we're working on the accreditation, and this is for the national accreditation standards. We're preparing classrooms to meet high-quality expectations and demonstrating through portfolios of evidence that our policies are robust and responsive to what kids, families, and teachers need in the preschool program. Jamie and I have been supporting this by participating in walkthroughs through the pre-K classrooms to help get ready for this. So that's a big deal going on right now. Mark talked a little bit about the PTO. We did have a district PTO meeting yesterday here at 6 o'clock. We had about 13 or 14, maybe more parents. We had some teachers and principals join us. It went very well. They shared ideas of PTOs. We're kind of resurrecting some PTOs because of the pandemic. We lost some, and we're trying to get that back in all the schools. Mark was also there. Mark, do you want to add anything about that?
No, I thought it was a very good meeting. It was a group meeting, so it was a sharing of information to get all of the PTOs going again. And they gave out general information as far as, makeup of the PTOs and the fact that they had to get an IRS EIN number and establish their own bank accounts. What's expected of them. And the big thing is recruiting people to join the PTO.
And they're also considered volunteers, and off of that volunteers, Litz has been keeping track and really working on getting some more volunteers in our school community. So there's a graph on there for how many volunteers we have by each school. So we're doing a lot better in that area, and we'll continue to recruit people. I know on the website, we have these at every school. There'll be something where they can scan so people can easily volunteer for our school. So this is in every school building, and this will also go on our website. Thank you, Yulitza, for that. So a little bit about the budget. I know Bob's going to go into that. Bob and I have been meeting regularly for that. We did have an ad hoc meeting in December with some our Board of Ed members and City Council. We just spoke mostly about this year's budget and where we are. And then we did reiterate that the big driver, and Bob will talk more about this, is the excess cost reimbursement. So there's some bad news about that. I know that everyone knows that we're supposed to get 91%. We're in the highest tier. And last year we got 70%. So we budgeted with 71%. We budgeted 70% this year. Like I said, we'll talk more about this when Bob gives his report, but we just received that we will only get 64.19%, which is the lowest ever for us. So.
And Chris, you had a question?
Yes, I'm sorry. Back to the preschool flex framework. Could you tell me what a FADE plan is? That's in the third sentence, instructional strategies are highly specific, data-driven, and based on a FADE plan.
This is more, I believe, and Jamie, you might be able to help me out here for, or Lisa, because Corey's not here today. But I believe it's for students who need some extra support, and it's something that we would eventually fade. We wouldn't keep it in the whole time. So it's sort of like with behaviors. Like if you think about a paraeducator, we never want to keep a paraeducator with a student for a long time. We want to have a fade plan for that student.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, any other questions about that? Sorry, Christina, I had a question there. So again, going back to the budget. So that was the bad news received. We have some good news about Rose City School that both Bob and Lisa will talk about for cost savings. And we just recently got the NFA tuition rate, so Bob will talk about that as well. I do want to say, speaking of special education, some good news. We always try to really have a good relationship with NFA and our partner schools, like the Integrated Day Charter School. And I thought it would would be good to read this. We have a new director over there, Debbie Allard, Executive Director of the IDCS, and she sent a really nice email. Susan, I want to thank you for the wonderful special education team that you have in Norwich who work with IDCS. At our Charter School Association meeting, the topic of charter schools have challenges with collaboration with partner districts often comes up, and I could not feel any different. Dr. Hughes, Beth Hanlon, Jessica, Lori, and Heidi have been incredibly communicative, collaborative, and supportive, and she's apologized if she missed anyone. This popped in my head this morning as Heidi, one of our liaisons, literally drove through our car line to drop off supplies that we were trying for one of her students. I always feel that we are working together in the goal of doing what's best for students who are all of our students, and I wanted to express that gratitude. So I just wanted to that in because our special education team works really hard for that. So.
Thank you.
We do have the NPS loft coming. It's going to be at Bishop, and we're excited about this initiative. I know people know that NFA has something similar, and this is going to be at Bishop/Thoreau City School. It's going to provide free access to essential items for all NPS families. Items will be available by appointment only, and donations are always accepted. We're also going to have our Norwich Transition Academy students that are going to be supporting this initiative. And those students will have inventory management. They will organize the items. They will restock and work on displays, and it will be a great community engagement for them to promote the loft's resources with the school community and spreading awareness of what is available services. So we're really excited to partner with NTA for that initiative.
We already had the winter coat drive, right?
Yes, we did. And I believe, one other thing I wanted to mention before I finish is just the certified staff vacancies. We're still having trouble filling our science and math positions, which is a shortage area. So we have a grade 7 science at teachers, grade 7 math at Kelly, grade 8 science at Kelly, grade 8 at ELA, and then we have 2 team special education teachers. And that concludes my report.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, and then you also have reports on the registration office and the residency officer report. Okay, on to the acting assistant superintendent, Jamie.
Good evening, everyone. Hopefully you're able to take a look at the monthly report that includes lots of details about what's happening in our department, but also some nice visuals for you to help celebrate some of the great things that we have going on in our classrooms, not only around academics, but also with some of our unified arts. So hopefully you're enjoying that. Last month, I talked a little bit about how, we are starting our screening process for assessments. January really is the month where we get finished with all that. Talked a little bit about preliminary math, sneak peeking into some of that data, and that we're seeing some good preliminary results there. And this month, it's about dibbles and seeing similar types of pockets that people are noticing, our coaches are noticing, Ashley Eichhorn, and people are excited. And not only myself and Ashley and the coaches, but I'm hearing teachers talk about it as well, based on some of the new programming that we've been implementing this year. People are noticing, and hopefully we're enthusiastic about seeing some good results with that. As mentioned last month as well, Global is getting ready to push that send button on the Commissioners Network application for the grant funding. It will go to its first review at the State Board of Education. There are 4 different areas that they're focusing on. Academics is one of them, talent, and trying to make sure that we're recruiting and retaining the teachers that we have. Culture and climate is always a focus on these applications that go out, as well as operations. So this will go to the State Board of Education, and they will be reviewing the application, as well as bringing Mr. Lavoy and Ms. Lassard in to ask some questions about those applications, and then eventually they'll make a decision as to whether or not the application was approved or denied. And then that's when we'll determine how much money we'll get. That's not always, it's not presented initially as to how much that will be. But we're hopeful, because they've done a lot of work, and it's actually on point in all regards. So really hopeful about that. In addition to that, the state also made us aware that not only is Global involved in some focus work, being eligible for school improvement and Commissioners Network, but Wequanic Elementary has been named as a focus school in the, as a result of high needs results in ELA, English Language Arts, of our high needs population. So what that means is that Wequanic and Sarah Dusso and our central office will be working closely on those applications as we're eligible for school improvement grant funding, as well as applying for Commissioners Network. We appreciate the support that we get from the state, and when we're needing to have some support with finances and ways to improve, we welcome that. We also want to thank Darrell Wilson and his constant support for us and the Norwich Public Schools Education Foundation grant application that they submitted to the State Judicial Department. They were targeting our after-school programming, and they were awarded $15,000. That, again, helps us with our after-school options that we have for students. And the focus of that grant was $7,000 for STEM activities that take place after school, instrumental music programs, that was about $5,000, in which the pep band is making an appearance at our middle school basketball game, so you might see that if you stop in, as well as our broadcasting initiative, where we have students that are calling the games and making announcements in that regard. So we are very grateful for the foundation for helping us with that goal of increasing our extracurriculars. And that's my report. Any questions at all? Thank you.
I just wanted to give an update, because I just received an email from Maria Perillo, just to let everyone know, Snow Bus 1 with the 71 that had not a lot of kids on it, that's west side of town, like Asylum Street. And Snow Bus 2 is Convent Road, Golden Street, and Hickory Street.
Okay. So the Greenville area one is more students.
But the Asylum.
So the west side bus, it's
Less students.
less students. I'm just wondering if they could be consolidated at some point.
We can talk about that at our committee meeting, more about the transportation subcommittee.
Yeah.
It's two opposite ends, so it'll be hard.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Jamie, I was just reading the academic coordinators update, so at next meeting, we should have the results.
In February, we'll
See
have
where
all,
the
at
kids
the end
are
of
at.
January, all the assessments should be buttoned up. So as long as we can pull all that together, all that data together for you for February, that's when we'll present the ELA and like we did earlier, like in the fall.
And today there was I attended a webinar that Kay was giving on social studies. There's a lot of resources out there that Kay and the state offers.
Yeah, we did have Ashley Icorn attend that same session.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Okay, any questions for Jane? All right, and then we go to the report of the Director of Student Services, Lisa.
Good evening. Good evening. So in my report, as usual, I have the monthly out-of-district placement report. And
The mic
over here,
thank you.
can you hear me? Okay. And the out-of-district placements right now are at 109. We did have some movement, some students that have moved in, and students that were awaiting placement, but that is still 20 placements less than we were in last January. So that is significant. I also wanted to just highlight unified sports. I know that this is something that we were engaging in the past, and again this year. It's super important. It really helps us also in our schools and school programming to have programs like unified sports, and Connecticut Special Olympics has been very good to the Norwich Public Schools. And it's really essential for students to be learning how to work together, and it really enhances self-confidence and celebrates everyone's unique abilities. So our unified athletes are ready for another great season. Practices started on January 10th for Kelly and Global students, and they have their first official game of the season here on January 29th at 2:45. Other highlights include some tournaments that they will be participating in Glastonbury and in Westbrook. And I wanted just to thank Lou Allen and the dedicated coaches and athletes and the families as well. And hopefully you can come out to support our athletes. As Susan mentioned, I wanted to offer an update on the Rose City School. We've just opened our second classroom, which is really exciting. Students are meeting with really great success. Staffing is going very well there. We are on track to have our 2 full elementary classrooms by the end of the school year. And right now we're at about 9 students. And so we're very excited also to welcome our first out-of-district student. And we are continuing, we have rolling admissions, as you'd say, and accepting referrals. We've put out a lot of information to area directors and DCF and all kinds of places, superintendents, to let them know about our programming. And our partnership with Waterford Country School Farm has continued to be a really wonderful experience for our students. Students will be in 2 different groups going, they'll be visiting twice a week. Each group visits once. And so that's been a really wonderful experience for our students. So our goal is to add a middle school classroom for the start of next school year. We will have some students already in the program aging into that, as well as other students that we are analyzing our out-of-district list and determining which students are ready to come back into a middle school level program. So we're really excited about that. And I wanted to give a shout out to Beth Hanlon, our Assistant Director of Student Services and Special Programs, Joshua Vanoski, our Special Education Supervisor, and the whole team at Rose City School. It's really amazing to be in this position at this point in mid-January, and you know, I was really nervous about the whole project, but I'm really excited that we're at this point. So stay tuned for more on that. And then also in our specially designed curriculum spotlight, I wanted just to give a little information on Teach Town, which is something that's been used in the district before, but it's something that supports students with autism and different developmental disabilities. It's being used specifically in our middle schools right now to work on different skills that help with relationship building, self-awareness, problem solving, safety, and community. And our social workers, Leah Hastings and Kim Maki, have been doing a really nice job in small groups applying that program. So we're hoping to grow that across the district as well. So some really high quality things are happening. And that is what I have for you this evening, and happy to answer any questions you have.
I just want to say I was never nervous.
It's going well.
So how many kids do we have then at Rose City now?
Right now, we're at 9.
I'm sorry, what?
9. 9, 2,
9?
yes, 9, yep, and
Because we had started with, what, 5, was it?
we were hoping for that, but we started very small. We had about 2 students and then grew from there.
So, I see you opened the second classroom, so you're trying to have how many, like,
So the hope is between 12 to 15 students to end the school year. We'll probably be somewhere in the middle there. And then we're looking,
is that including any, from outside of Norwich Public Schools?
yes. Yes, so that's revenue generating, which I know Bob is going to talk about, and is really good stuff as well. And as, you know, we get going and we become more known in the area with more, you know, reaching out and those kinds of things. And we have interest. We have directors contacting us and there is interest. So we're really, yeah. It is, and you know, it really takes a lot of thoughtful practice to, you know, work with our out-of-district liaison and with the Rose City team, and to really, you know, think through each of those placements, what's right for students. So it does take some time to kind of cultivate that. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
And we know, and just to piggyback off that, we know how good it is to keep our students here in Norwich, but of course Bob's going to talk about how much money that saves us. They get our same curriculum, we make sure that the same curriculum is there, actually ICORN visits.
Yes,
To make
yes.
sure that they're getting, that they get the independent or the individual instruction that they need, so it's been going very well.
Plus, it's important to grow that program slowly and correctly so that we get a good reputation.
Wood spreads.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Is the Special Olympic a new program that we are exploring, the unified sports?
That has been something that I believe has been in place, you know, throughout different times. And then there was some kind of interruption during COVID. And we did start it back up last year. So yes, it is a wonderful experience. Last year, when I attended games, families were commenting about how wonderful it was to see their children involved in sports. And so it is the unified athlete and their partner that's with them, their age partner peer, who helps and assists them, guides them in the game. It's really an amazing experience to just watch that unfold and these natural friendships occur. It's really wonderful.
Thank you. And I know we are currently requesting volunteers. I don't know if that's a program that we are asking volunteers for.
Oh, yes, I don't know, but I will look into that.
And John, how long did NFA have their unified sports? Do you know? Has it been 10 years or more?
No, wait. More than that.
Yeah, I know my son in 2011, when he graduated, he worked on it, and so, and that was
It's been quite a while.
4 years.
It was there in 1995, so.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Well, and that's another important reason for us to have that, so that when our students do transfer over, they have that experience. It's really a wonderful program, and we can do other things with it, like unified recess time, best buddies, which we've had here before. There are lots of components to it. There were small funds available as well that we received to do uniforms and those kinds of things. So there are really nice opportunities to do other activities like unified cornhole. There's all kinds of bowling and just really wonderful experiences for students and their families to see their students engaging in that way with their community.
At NFA, unified social club, we'll call it that, so to speak, which might be something to look at for individual elementary schools, because it's not schools.
Yeah.
So it's an after-school social activity. And you don't need a lot of kids, you don't need uniforms, you just need someone to supervise an activity for kids to socialize, which goes a very long way.
It really does. It really sets a climate that we're aiming for.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then we come to the man of the hour.
Excuse me, I've been called worse things than that, so I'll take that. I'm going to talk about athletics a little bit. I haven't done that in a while, and it's been a topic of a few people this evening. When I came to work here in Norwich almost 4 years ago, I was surprised to see that athletics district-wide had gone away, and I guess after-school clubs had. And I was a student here at Kelly many, many years ago, and we had cultural dance, we had archery and bowling and golf and intramural sports, and there was tons of things to do. So it was a priority for administration to bring athletics and clubs back. So that effort started about 3.5 years ago, and the district hired Lou Allen. And I'm sure everybody in this room knows Lou. Well, when Lou got hired, there was no roadmap or handbook on how to do it. He was basically told, just bring everything back. And Lou has a lot of contacts, and he worked tirelessly with administration, with building principals, custodians, staff members. He had to start from scratch recruiting coaches. He worked with people at NFA, volunteers, Darrell Wilson, and 3.5 years later, I'm really happy to say it's come back. And one concern we had was sustainability. It would have been a horrible thing to bring back athletics and get everybody excited, and then due to budget reasons, have it go away. So we made that a priority to make it become part of funding. So 2 years ago, we started migrating the ESSER-funded expenses back into the Board of Ed budget, and this year, with Jamie's help, Alliance Grant is supporting that. We did spend a significant amount of money of ESSER funds to redo the beautiful floor at Kelly and Global. We purchased tons of athletic equipment, PE equipment, and so on and so forth. So the couple pictures I'm showing you are from yesterday here at Kelly. There was a girls' basketball game, and you can see the stands are pretty full. So it's a wonderful thing for family and student engagement. We had cheerleaders here. We had the pep band playing. There's the step club participates, so it's a student-wide activity. And this was the girls' game yesterday afternoon. The cheerleaders, they're pretty impressive. They practice hard and they do a lot of cool things. So this was, I think, during halftime of their activity. So if you get a chance to come out to a game, and you'll be pleasantly surprised at the overall engagement. My office is over at Bishop, and I think last meeting you heard me speak about the football league cheerleaders that are there. They're there every night by 5:30, and Monday through Friday, and they'll be here, I think, through at least February. So I just wanted to share some little bit of good news before I talk about budgets. But it's nice to see athletics is here, and I think it's here to stay. And if you do a comparison between our program and surrounding schools, we probably rank above most of them. We have quite a few activities, and we might not be the best in terms of our won-loss records, but that's not what the important thing is. So I just wanted to share this with you before I get into my business aspect of it. I don't know if you have any questions about this at all, or... So this is one of the good news stories. So in your board packet, you have a 4-page document. I guess it was a frequently asked question things about excess cost. It's a complicated thing to understand, and it's been a topic of conversation, I think, every board meeting that I've talked about. So I hope you find that helpful. I'm not going to talk about that at all. That's for your reading. You've heard me say special education costs are impactful. They will be the single largest budget impact item in the 24-25 budget. And the 3 big things in there are outside tuition placement costs, outside services and services for our students in-house, and the state reimbursement amount. You've also heard me, I won't say affectionately, use the term financial roulette when I describe special education costs, but I use that term simply because it changes so much, and it changes every day, and it's unpredictable. It's like spinning the wheel. So I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But this is an example of how it changes, and we're not alone in this fight for costs. EastCon sent an email to us on January 3rd, sent it to Susan, Lisa's office, and my office, and it said, we're struggling. We have a deficit. We have a $5 million problem. Consequently, you're going to help us out, and effective January 6th, all special education rates will increase by 15%. To me, that's unconscionable to do that. I don't know how you can tell a school district halfway through the year that your costs are going up 15%, but that's what happened. So Norwich pays a lot to EastCon for our special ed programs and services. Last year, we paid them $1,172,000. This year, year-to-date, we've paid them $1,068,000. So it's impactful, but they just did it. And that's one of the problems that is being faced statewide is not only the high cost of special ed services, but the rapid escalation. I mean, we talk about budget increases in single digits, and we spend collectively over probably 27, 30 million, and our providers of services just slap a 15% increase. So we don't know where the rates are going to go next year for our other providers, especially the smaller placements. It's almost like a captive market. So excess cost is and has been one of the largest budget variables that we've faced. And it's something the district has no control over. Last year, if you recall when this came out, the impact to the district was $700,000-800,000, and it was a big piece of our deficit that we had absolutely no control over. Legislatively, the law says we're in Tier 1, we should get 91% reimbursement. We've learned by example. Last year, we budgeted 91%, we actually got 71. So that was the cause of our big deficit number. So collectively, during the budget meetings, in the ad hoc committee meetings, we thought we'll be safe and we'll budget 70% and hope for more. That didn't happen, as Susan mentioned, and I'm going to get to that in the next slide or two. This excess cost program was created back in 1988 statewide, and the intent was to fully fund the program. It actually was fully funded at 100% in those two fiscal years or school years in 2007 and 2008. In 2008 and 2009, districts received the full 100% of their reimbursement amount. Well, those days are long gone. So since that time, the state has failed to consistently increase funding while costs have continued to escalate at extremely high rates. The grant was capped at $140 million since 2011. Well, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to know, or a business major to know, that costs go up every year. The state did not change funding from 2011 until 2018. And at that time, they appropriated an extra 15.6 million. So in 2018, to cover all excess cost reimbursement requests, it was 156.1 million. It then again stayed stagnant until 2023-24, when the state added $25 million in the last budget session. So last year, the amount to spread around was 181.1 million, and again, it's the same amount this year. It was estimated after all of the funding requests for costs came in last year, the state would have needed an extra $50 million last year to fund at your respective legislative rate. So since we dropped below we went from 71% to 64 this year, it's been estimated that just to make us even, they'd need another 80 million right now. So that's a big number. They're gonna have to find the money somewhere. So the state did release the excess cost reimbursement amounts on January 6th. For our tier, which is the highest reimbursement rate, it's 64.19. It's actually the lowest reimbursement of the rate. So now we have a budget dilemma. What rate should we use in the 25-26 budget? Do we do what we did last year and stick with this year's current rate, 64%? I would suggest no. If the state doesn't throw more money into the pot, we know costs are going to be higher next year, so by default, everybody's going to get less again. So this is going to be a major legislative fight. So that's where we stand on excess cost, and actually the lowest reimbursement of the wealthier towns, they're I think tier 3, 59-point-something% is their reimbursement rate. So this is a major issue statewide. And before we move on, I take questions about the excess cost piece.
I'm gonna go back a page on question on EastCon. So January 3rd, they announced effective in 3 days will be a 15% increase.
Yep, for the rest of the year.
Question I don't know, how many students are involved in their programs? How many programs do they have? What type of programs do they have? I mean, I'm asking.
I can give you, and Lisa could comment on that too. We have I believe eight outplacements right now in the special ed program, various programs, and some of them are very high-cost students.
Through ESCON.
Excuse me?
Through ESCON, 8 students?
Yeah.
8, yeah. Yep, so there's the Bridges Community School, the Education and Vocational Center, the Northeast Regional Program, and the Transition Academy.
High-costing programs you mentioned.
Yes, they're very, very high-cost programs.
Stupid question, are there other options besides ESCON?
Well, that is something we're contemplating.
Excuse me, yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is something that, this is the out-of-district placement list,
Yes.
so we're constantly looking at this. It was quite a shock to have that level of, in the middle of the year and to receive invoices that were now, changed to determine that increase. So I've asked them for PDF, invoices so that Bob and I can review that with one of the individuals in our office that works on the invoices so that we can make sure.
And we'll have to see how the impact fleshes out with the students that qualify for excess cost.
Right.
So we won't bear the full burden of the 15%, but again, because the reimbursement rate is down to 64%, we adjust the excess cost filing on March 1st. So it's going to take a while to flesh out to see it won't be a full 15% for us for this year. And as Lisa said, you look for alternatives, but if you have students placed in these very specialized programs now, you can't up and say, well, it's not like I shop at ShopRite and tomorrow I'm going to Big Y.
Well, and the other part too is the age. A lot of the majority of our students on this list, in terms of out of district, are middle school to high school age students. So we don't have a lot of wiggle room. This kind of situation, it doesn't prevent any other of these schools to do something that EastCon has done to raise their rates. I mean, hopefully, that's not.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I don't like to use the term necessarily encourage others to do the same, but people know this has happened and they go, well, EastCon did it, maybe we can do it 10%, 8%.
$5 million hole
Right.
deficit from what I heard, and that's the reason.
I have a question though. Do we have a contract with them for specific rates?
Yes.
Okay, so then how contractually can they just change the rates in the middle of the year when the budget's already locked for this fiscal year?
Yeah, so I mean, that it's definitely something that we're looking at, and trying to determine if there's any recourse that we have at this point.
Well, like NFA though, we're assessed twice during the year, right?
Well,
Besides special ed.
And NFA, with regular education, we all know is 1 year in arrears. So the 25-26 tuition will be based on the enrollment as of October 1. Special education does it twice a year, October 1 and then February 1st. So we will know for the February 1st billing what the new rates will be. So if students leave in between, we do get credit for that, or students get added. So one of the things that Lisa's office and I have worked very hard at with NFA is communications. It's very important that we become aware of changes in students' programs that have a financial impact. So Lisa and I have gone on to NFA. We've met independently with their financial people. She meets with the special education people. And I went over there about a month ago, and I brought one of the people from my office, and we met with their CFO and someone from special ed, and basically said, listen, we can't be surprised with an invoice that this is what happens. You need to tell us ahead of time. And we had a very good meeting, and I was actually very pleased because January 7th, I got an email from NFA indicating what they expect February enrollment to be. So with that, and it's very important because we started the year with a budget of 224. We ended up with 226 rather. We ended up with 238 students in the special education programs there. The enrollments actually added 1 student since October 1 to be 239, but the costs are going down because we had a decrease in 2 students on the highest cost program. We went from 13 down to 11. So we've had some changes in there. So even though we added 1 student, pending no changes between January 7th and February 1st, we'll be paying less in the second half of the year than we did in the first half of the year. So that's a good thing. And I was very pleased to see the communication happen with NFA. So that was a benefit of our meeting with them.
So I'm just wondering if the EastCon contract is similar to NFA, where you have sort of a split year either.
I don't think there's a contract per se for all of the programs. It might be on an individual student basis.
I believe it is. I don't think there's one overarching contract. It comes in because they're all separate programs, but
But
we
if
are.
it's constructed similar to NFA's, where
Yeah.
there's, you're not contracting for an entire school year, you're contracting for,
Those
just
services,
a
yeah.
portion.
See, I won't know until we dig into those details.
look at
This was very sudden.
I'm just happy you're looking into it.
Oh, yeah.
Paul's got a great point about a contract, and even if it's 2 students that leave
Yeah.
each time, might get a message.
I mean, I hate to say that I spend and my office does with Lisa's office, together, we spend a disproportionate amount of our time on the finance aspect and budget impact of special education costs through excess cost. I mean, we spend it every day. And you'll get to that, I'll get to that later on.
Well, I know we have a CAVE BOE chair meeting on Thursday, and I'm sure the entire hour will be spent on this.
Oh, yeah.
Because already Darien, I think their reimbursement rate was like 56 or 58%. And even one town, they had budgeted for 71% and they got 69. But they're a small town, and that 1 or 2% difference is ruining their budget. I mean, the margins that towns use to construct school budgets is so thin now. There's a 1% change just destroys.
Well, to that point, I believe in conversation with Susan, she got an email or text from a fellow superintendent based on the excess cost announcement on what the reimbursements were. He said, I went to bed, I was under budget district-wide, and I woke up and I'm in the hole by a huge number. So that's how impactful it is.
They went from being 100 in the good to 50 in the hole.
With one email. So Rose City School, one of the ways districts can help to stop the escalation of special education costs is to bring more students in-house. It's better for the student. A lot of districts talk about it, and during the ad hoc meetings and administrative cabinet levels, we talked about it, and we actually did it. It was a lot of hard work on part of a lot of people, especially Lisa's office, and with the help of the superintendent and Jamie. So like most programs, we start small, and it opened in this fall with 2 students. So one of the students was an actual budgeted outplacement. In the budget, I had $92,865 for that one student. So that was an actual savings. Another was what I call an outplacement avoidance. Had Rose City School not been started, we would have spent another $88,000 sending that student out. So that was in September, 2 students. Well, right now, as Lisa mentioned, enrollment has increased to 9 students. That's part of people making the effort, going out, getting the word out. So of those 9 students, 3 students came from outplacements. They were budgeted much like that first student in a particular school with a particular cost. So we paid tuition to those places from September through the end of December. So we will save another $138,000 for those 3 students for the balance of the year. We also have, as Letha said, one student coming in from out of district. So that, I believe the tuition we established for this year was $77,000. So they're not going to be here for the full year, but on a prorated basis, we will bill that district $44,000, and that money will offset special education tuition costs. So it'll be a netting against the actual costs. Then we have 3 students that we would have outplaced at a cost of just under $300,000. So collectively, for this year, the combination of actual expense reduction from not paying other places and avoiding spending new money is $662,000. So I think that's a pretty impressive effort. And as Lisa said, the effort continues to bring more students back. So we're hoping to have as many as 15 back by the end of the school year and have a second classroom for next year. So I think this is the start of something really good.
So 2/3 of $1,000,000 on 9 students.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It's an expensive business.
How do we actually recruit from out of our district? Like, Jimmy, do you ladies go around and do presentations to the boards or the school administration?
We haven't done that yet, but we have done a lot of outreach to the area superintendents, the special ed directors, DCF, because sometimes DCF is looking for placement. In addition to that, in this first few months really of the program, and it's already reaping that, referrals and interest around the program. So it's really like, there are a couple of districts wondering, well, what are you actually doing, and want some information, maybe to start their own. But, I'm really pleased that we've been able to have those conversations with area districts. And in terms of, how we make these plans for students, it is a very intentional process in which the parents and the students come to visit. It's a referral, for anyone referred, a packet is received from the other district. They come to visit. Even when they're returning back to district, they're coming to visit the program. It's done, in a very thoughtful way. The individuals working at Rose City go out and see the students in their placements, have conversation with that team, plan it. Exactly. And so there are students that, they've observed and said, well, not ready yet, but we'll have that conversation later. And we're keeping track of all of those pieces.
Have you, I know it's still new, but do you survey the parents of the students we do have there and ask them their opinion, if they're happy with how things are going, anything like that?
We haven't had that yet, but there's been a lot of kind of anecdotal comments made. We've had students who have not wanted to attend school at all, just up in the morning, ready to go. It's a very calm environment, very small numbers. It's allowed for a lot of, opportunity and for some very creative ways of doing things. And as Susan said, it's really connected to the curriculum, and we've had, the academic office assisting. It's been really a group effort to try to make this a great program. So there are those pieces, and those are great points to bring up to me to talk to the team about. And the best kind of way has been phone calls that Joshua Vanosky makes to parents and building those relationships, and that's where we've been working.
I'm not an academic person, but I think intuitively the hardest thing is to get started. When you're starting out, you have really an empty space to show a parent or a student who wants to be first. So we got past that, and now, as Lisa said, if you're marketing it, they have someone to talk to. You have 9 students here. You can bring someone in, and you see students engaging in a real classroom. That we had to paint and do a lot of things, and we've learned. But I think the hardest thing for Lisa's department and whole administration was to, put the line in the sand and say, we're doing this, and then, okay, go find someone now who wants to be first.
But we've had the support, Susan and that kind of like, let's go, we can do this. And that's been really helpful, you know, for the overall.
Can-do attitude.
Yeah, we needed
instead of
that.
a negative attitude.
Well, we needed that support to say, let's try this, and the space, because we hadn't had that opportunity, right? So there are many reasons why we haven't done this before. You know, we're bursting at the seams in a lot of, as you know from the building project, but you know, we haven't had the flexible space. We happened to see an opportunity. It worked, and you know, took a leap. So here we are.
I just have a couple more slides to recap. So this is the budget impact of excess cost this year. So type 1 is the placements that are done by our local educational agency or the district. So we get reimbursed once we cross spending 4.5 times our net cost per pupil. You know, how they ever came up with that formula, I couldn't explain that in a million years. The type 2 placements are state agency placements. Because it's state placement, we get reimbursed once we exceed 1 times our cost per pupil. So the uncapped entitlement, based on our current costs for this year, we were entitled at 100% reimbursement to get $3,279,000, and that didn't happen. Legislatively, it's 91%. If the state just lived up to their commitment by law, I'm not even asking them to pass new laws to help education. Just honor what you've passed currently. We would have received $879,000 more, and I wouldn't be sitting here each meeting telling you this is a big problem. I wouldn't be worried about us being over budget, we'd be under budget, and life would be good, and I wouldn't be spending every day on this stuff. So that's how significant it is. We learned by, as I said, we learned by example, so we only budgeted 70%, and that was a good thing. So we actually got almost $77,000 more than the budget, so it's not gonna have a huge negative impact on it, but it does on, it sounds like I'm talking on both sides of my mouth. We're actually getting more reimbursement than we budgeted for. That's because our mix was higher and our costs were higher. So it is still painful, but had we budgeted at the 91%, we would have had a huge hole. So I'm thankful that we didn't do that. But the reimbursement shortfall is $1.1 million overall. So something has to be done because this is not sustainable year after year. And we can't, districts and communities can't keep having this conversation. So here's the state breakdown on how this has gone. As recently as 21, 22, districts were getting 80% reimbursement. And that's where it dropped down. We're in the ranking on the bottom tier, 115 to 169, where we got 64.2. So you can see how it's changed in just 3 years. I mean, I wouldn't want to say I'd be thrilled if we got 80% reimbursement, but we wouldn't be having a budget problem either, even if we got that amount. This just shows you how much it changes. I look at this every day. Lisa's office looks at it every day, and we communicate. So I started putting this on a chart back in the middle of December. And the top piece is contracted services. Those are all OT, PT, speech, evaluations that are paid for on the outside. And then it's all tuitions. So you can look at it on the bottom between the 16th and 17th, cost decreased by almost $30,000. That was a Tuesday morning. Tuesday afternoon, they'd gone up by $42,000. Wednesday afternoon, they went up another $46,000. Thursday, they dropped by $8,000. Then we went off on break. We came back from break. They went up $687. They went up the next day, $12,000. Then the following Tuesday, we decreased by $46,000. Friday up $23,000, and then up another $81,000. And this afternoon we had no change. So I just wanted to show you how it changes every single day. Now, when we get the credits for the students coming back from the outplacements, it'll go down. When we get NFAs going down, it'll go down. So I want you to know, we look at this every single day. I don't think I should have to spend that much time, nor should Lisa's time, but it's so volatile and so impactful. So if I tell you what it is today, I can promise you those numbers will be different in a week, the next day.
This is Bob's favorite activity.
Yeah.
He calls me, you're not gonna believe it.
So what are the solutions? You know, statewide effort on the parts of schools and municipal leaders to pressure the state to fund it. We do that. We meet collectively, we meet with our local representatives, Darrell Wilson, Kathy Austin. They're well aware of this. They fight the battle in Hartford. Federal government, this is another area I haven't talked about specifically, but they're not funding IDEA to the extent they should. Lisa got an email earlier in the year decreasing our funding by $41,000 because the federal government didn't send the state enough money, and they in turn ratcheted back every district. So Lisa had to make adjustments in professional development and other areas, you know, outside of immediate student services. We've taken the step of creating in-house programs for students. Another avenue we could potentially explore would be creating a cooperative program with a neighboring district. Maybe we can't create a program within our own district, but with 2 or 3 other neighboring districts, we could have a regional program. And I know some of the bodies like CAPS, and Susan knows what the organization is, they've sent letters, and our legislators are asking to put price caps on or regulate the rates like they do in Massachusetts. So we can't get an email one day from EastCon saying you're going up 15%. So these are the things that we can do and are trying to do. It's already in the news. The budget session just started in Hartford, and if you looked in the Connecticut Mirror, you can read the article. Some mayors and school superintendents want the state to boost funding by $545 million. And yes, on Monday at a separate news conference, the governor said he plans to prioritize special education in his budget. So it's going to be a top priority. How that will translate into dollars, I have no idea. And most likely, we will not have a final city budget until the legislative body takes action and we know what we might get in terms of grants and reimbursement. So I'm done with the impact of special education. I'd be glad to take any questions that you might have.
Just want to say too that we met on Friday, superintendents at Learn, with our legislators there, and that was the main topic was excess cost. And that comment that Bob said, that's very real, and that's all we really talked about with our representatives last Friday. And I just say that, and I talked to Jamie about this, we put all that effort in last year about how important it is to fund excess cost. A lot of effort and energy, and we got the lowest ever this year. So we're still gonna do that, and we're gonna show up. A lot of us are gonna show up in Hartford to tell our stories. But like I said, we spent a lot of effort on last year, and nothing came from it.
But the good thing is, this isn't solely a Norwich problem, and this is major problem for the big cities, and the big cities have big voting blocks, and they're going to have to find money from somewhere because this just can't continue.
Well, thanks for that ray of sunshine, Bob.
It wasn't terrible.
Athletics was good.
It was. Some good news.
Yeah, there was, I mean, we could be in a lot worse situation, I suppose. Okay,
Off of that though, Bob, I just wanted to let everybody know that we do have our upcoming budget expenditure meetings. They're all via Zoom, January 28th, they're already scheduled. February 4th and February 19th, and they're all three are from 6 to 7:30. So we'll be going into more detail on the budget side.
and those are wholly by Zoom, right?
Correct.
And that's the ones with the council, the full.
Anyone can.
Okay, new business, we get into the first reads of the policies. Just wanna cover those briefly, Susan, maybe?
I'm sorry, who said?
The policies,
Oh,
visitors and observations in schools is the first one.
yep, let me pull it up. So for first read, yes, I don't know, Kevin, do you wanna do this? You want me to? I'm happy to do it.
His voice
His
is.
voice, okay. Visitors and observations in schools, this policy has been revised by Shipman and Goodman as a result of the request by the district to reflect a section on appropriate contact for visitors on school property. The policy committee felt that making parents and visitors feel welcome is very important, but that disrespect to staff will not be tolerated. Signage welcoming visitors and reminding them of expectations for proper behavior will be implemented. This will be presented to the Board of Education today for the first read. And I wanna just say that most of our parents are great. We don't have any issues with the majority of our parents. And this isn't something where we're gonna take this policy out when we have a parent that's upset about their child. We expect some upset parents because they're advocating for their children. This is for real severe cases where there's threats made to our staff and situations like that. But overall, we really don't have any issues. Our parents are great.
And the next one, I guess, is the employment checks. Employment and student teacher checks. So that's probably just an update to
Yes.
yeah, that's just an update with legal updates probably.
The changes are highlighted.
If you go through the
And then the other policy, next policy change is the FMLA, the new law that came in.
There's just slight changes in that one if you see the highlighted areas.
And the social media personnel, it's what the usage of social media by staff.
Yep, that's just a revised policy to clarify various categories of employees' social media that are subject to different considerations under the First Amendment.
And then the other contentious one would be the new policy on welcoming immigration and refugee communities.
This is for our educational purposes only, that we want to be able to protect our kids while they're in our schools.
Question in regards, good, in regards to the deletion of the increasing educator diversity plan policy.
It's because now it's a law for us to do that, so we don't need to have it as a policy.
Thank you.
So we have to have that for the state.
Yeah, the state had changed, the
Just wanted to make
reporting.
sure.
Before it was a suggestion, now it's required. Okay. Let's see, the next committee reports. The budget, okay, we covered, Susan covered the upcoming budget meetings. And the ad hoc meets after the budget. Negotiation, we had approved the administrators and the nurses' contracts. We still have not met yet for we'll be starting a new round of negotiations for the admin assistants. Transportation. We have a report on transportation.
We need to set up a time.
Okay. And if, whenever you decide to meet, just send me a brief email so I could attend on a ex officio basis. Policy, we pretty much covered that. Okay, now it comes to board reports. IDCS.
Has not met since our last meeting. They have a legislative breakfast tomorrow that folks are welcome to. tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. 8:15. Okay, good, I might have been late.
That's when the tour, but you pretty much know that whole building, so 8:45 is breakfast.
Okay, yeah, so I had 9 o'clock on my calendar. For Learn, two things. A lot of the Learn meeting that just occurred was focused on the budget. They gave a presentation on the state of the agency, which was really about the fiscal condition for the most part. They're in a strong position financially, minimal debt. They have a fund balance of 32% compared to their annual revenue, which is about twice as high as most other organizations that are similar to them. They just had the superintendent's legislative breakfast that was on the agenda. I didn't know about it yet when I watched that meeting, which I don't know if you want to say anything more about that.
No, it was, Senator Austin was there. She was there for a short period of time and she had to leave early, and some new representatives were there to kind of listen and find out, learn a little bit from the superintendents and our struggles. And like I said, most of it was talked about with excess cost shortage, because at that point we had just found out about how low it came in. And special education, everybody knows, there were some superintendents that talked about how they may have less students that are outplaced, but their costs are going up because the costs are, and everyone is just talking about how this is not sustainable at all. So that was most of our conversations.
And the main highlights from the rest of the meeting were mainly focused around a lot of the legislative efforts that are gonna be upcoming. There's a number of bills that will be out there, some already have been written that will be affecting education and funding, and that's gonna be very important to Learn and us as well. Also, they're changing some of the format, the structure of the district, what schools are gonna be offering what programs to what ages. So the Friendship School is evolving from, it was a pre-K only model to a pre-K and kindergarten, with the goal of getting to a pre-K to 2 school within the next few years. They're building a new early childhood program school, and groundbreaking I think is supposed to start this summer. And so that will help them to be able to make that transition. There are some other schools that are gonna be including middle school that didn't used to, so there's gonna be some shifting with where students are going to be within the Learn programming. The lotteries for their magnet school programs have been full. They had 250 applicants just for the Friendship School this year, and almost all of the magnet school programs that they have, there's been a lot of interest in.
Okay, the NFA, they did not, trustees don't meet in December. Their next meeting is next week. And we did get via email some preliminary budget projections for next year from Nate. So I'm sure Bob will work on that and incorporate that into the budget projections. The NPS Educational Foundation, we did get the grant from the Judicial Department. The $15,000 comes through the Education Foundation. I believe we distributed that, or a portion of that already, for the after-school programs. I believe we approved $2,500 in winter grants for the teachers. Those announcements will be coming out shortly. And the Follies, we finally got an update on the Follies. We made a profit of about $1,925 on the Follies. So that was a good showing. Then we have the additional reports which are attached to your agenda. That brings us to executive session. John, you wanna read that?
Before we go there, I just checked my text. Heather followed texted me and said she apologized that she's stuck at work. So
Yeah, that's
she's
fine.
not cutting class, so that's a good thing.
Okay.
Pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 1-200, members of the Board of Education move to go into executive session for discussion of a confidential attorney-client privileged communication regarding the appointment of a personnel search committee. Personnel search committee.
Could I have a second on that, please?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are in executive session. Ed,
Later.
I actually didn't lie
Amos
today.
was into
Probably already
overtime.
ordered his delivery, his food delivery.
Okay,
Sweet.
good, okay. It's 7:44, we're now out of executive session. No votes were taken in executive session. I believe John has a motion.
I do. Move that the board establish a personnel search committee for the purpose of recommending to the board one or more candidates for the position of superintendent of schools, and move further that the following individuals be appointed to the committee: Mark Kulos, John Iavino, Carlene Charlemans, Christine DeStachio, Heather Fowler, Christina Milton, Ella Miles, Gregory Perry, Kevin Saitani.
And could I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is unanimous. 8-0. Okay, any other business before the committee? Could I have a motion to adjourn?
Mrs. Ella will make that motion.
Please second.
Okay, all
I'll
in
second.
favor?
Christine DeStacio.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Aye.
I didn't hear
You
somebody
thirded.
second it, sorry.
I seconded, I got that.
All
One
right.
of the Chris's did.
And we are adjourned. Thank you.
Go.
Oh, can I see that language? Mark?